Not every woman who smiles at you truly loves you, and not every sweet sentence is spoken from a place of genuine emotion. In today's video, we're talking about women's psychology, not to blame, insult, or attack anyone, but to help men avoid emotional confusion and silent disappointment. Human behavior is complex. People don't always communicate directly. Instead of harsh words or clear rejection, emotions are often wrapped in kindness, softness, and comforting language. These words may sound caring on the surface, but sometimes they carry a very different message underneath. Some women don't use cold or cruel language. They use soft words, words that feel warm, reassuring, and emotionally safe. And in many cases, those words can keep a man emotionally invested for a long time, without real clarity, commitment, or direction. Psychologically, this creates hope. Hope keeps a man waiting. Hope keeps him giving more time, more attention, and more emotional energy, often without realizing that the connection may not be moving forward. This doesn't always happen with bad intentions. Sometimes it's comfort, sometimes it's emotional convenience, and sometimes it's simply a lack of awareness. But regardless of the reason, the result is often the same. One person grows emotionally attached, while the other enjoys the benefits without responsibility. If a woman repeatedly says certain lines, and her actions never align with deeper commitment, you may not be truly loved. You may simply be useful, emotionally available, or safe to keep around. Awareness is not bitterness. Understanding psychology is not hate. It's about learning to recognize patterns before they quietly drain your confidence and self-respect. So let's break down 9 common lines that sound sweet on the surface, but often signal emotional imbalance beneath. Listen carefully, not with emotion, but with clarity. Line John 1. I'm not ready for anything serious yet. This line often sounds honest, mature, and reasonable. On the surface, it feels like transparency. It suggests self-awareness and emotional responsibility. But psychology asks us to look beyond how words feel and examine what they actually do over time. When someone truly values you, clarity usually comes naturally. They may move slowly, but their direction is clear. You don't feel stuck in uncertainty. You don't feel like you're constantly waiting for the relationship to become something more. Instead, you feel secure in knowing where you stand. When a woman says she's not ready for anything serious yet, the key word is yet. That word creates hope. It keeps the connection open-ended. It suggests that if you're patient enough, supportive enough, or consistent enough, things might change. Psychologically, this keeps a man emotionally invested without requiring real commitment in return. If she enjoys your time, your effort, your attention, and your emotional availability, but keeps delaying commitment without a clear reason or timeline, you may be filling a role rather than building a future. You become someone who provides comfort, stability, or validation, while the relationship itself remains undefined. This doesn't automatically mean manipulation or bad intentions. Sometimes people are unsure of their own feelings, but uncertainty that lasts too long has consequences. One person grows emotionally attached, while the other remains free from responsibility. Healthy relationships move forward with mutual intention. Even when the pace is slow, the direction is shared. When direction is missing, imbalance begins to form. Time without direction benefits only one side, and awareness of that truth protects your emotional energy, your self-respect, and your peace of mind. Clarity is not pressure. It's a sign of genuine value. Line 2. You're different from other guys. Hearing this line can feel powerful. It creates a sense of uniqueness. It makes you feel seen, understood, and emotionally valued. For many men, it signals that the connection is deeper than usual. On the surface, it sounds like appreciation, but psychology encourages us to look beyond how a compliment feels and focus on what follows after it. The key thing to notice here is what's missing: action. Words can highlight difference, but only actions confirm it. When someone truly believes you are different, their behavior reflects that belief. They show consistency, they prioritize your presence, they treat your time and emotions with care. Without these elements, the compliment remains just that, a pleasant sentence, not a meaningful commitment. Compliments without commitment can quietly create emotional attachment. Without responsibility, they make you feel special enough to stay, but not valued enough to move forward. Psychologically, this keeps the connection comfortable for one person, while the other invests more emotionally, hoping words will eventually turn into effort. Being called different should not lead to confusion or mixed signals. It should lead to respect. It should lead to reliability. It should lead to clarity about where the connection is going. When those things are missing, the compliment may be serving as reassurance rather than intention. This doesn't mean the words are always spoken with manipulation. Sometimes people enjoy emotional closeness without realizing the impact of their inconsistency. But regardless of intent, the effect remains the same if actions never align. Healthy relationships are built when words and behavior move together. When they don't, emotional imbalance slowly forms. Feeling special should never require guessing. Real value is shown through consistency, not compliment. Line 10-3. I really appreciate everything you do for me. Appreciation is not a bad thing. In fact, in healthy relationships, feeling valued and acknowledged is important. Hearing words of gratitude can motivate connection and strengthen emotional bonds. But psychology reminds us that appreciation should support mutual effort, not replace it. When appreciation becomes the main response instead of reciprocation, imbalance slowly begins to form. You start giving more time, more energy, and more emotional support, while receiving mostly words in return. Over time, those words begin to feel like encouragement to continue giving, rather than recognition followed by action. Psychologically, this creates a quiet loop. A man hears appreciation and interprets it as progress. He assumes that continued effort will eventually deepen the connection. He gives more, waits longer, and lowers his expectations, hoping appreciation will transform into commitment or love. This doesn't always happen with conscious intent. Sometimes a person enjoys being cared for, without realizing how little they are giving back. Sometimes appreciation becomes a comfortable way to keep emotional support without responsibility. But regardless of intention, the emotional outcome remains the same when effort flows in only one direction. Healthy appreciation is paired with balance. It comes with consistency, presence, and emotional investment from both sides. It doesn't leave one person exhausted while the other remains comfortable. Effort, without balance, slowly drains self-worth. When giving becomes your role rather than your choice, emotional fatigue sets in. You begin to measure your value by how much you provide instead of how you are treated. Real connection doesn't ask you to overextend to be seen, it meets effort with effort. Appreciation should feel reassuring, not draining. And when balance is missing, awareness becomes protection. This line sounds reasonable on the surface. After all, everyone has responsibilities. Work, family, stress, routines. Life gets full. So when you hear this, you might tell yourself, okay, I'll wait. Things will slow down. But here's the part most people ignore. Busy is not the problem. Priority is. Every person, no matter how full their schedule is, makes time for what truly matters to them. Look closely. Even on the busiest days, people still scroll social media, reply to friends, watch shows, or make plans that excite them. Time doesn't disappear, it gets allocated. When someone repeatedly says they're too busy for meaningful conversation, emotional depth, or consistent connection with you, they're communicating something important, just not in direct words. They're saying, I like the comfort of knowing you're there, but I don't want the responsibility of showing up. This creates an imbalance. You invest emotionally, you stay patient, you give understanding, and they stay comfortable, giving just enough attention to keep the connection alive, but never enough to move it forward. That's not bad timing. That's not unlucky circumstances. That's information. Information about where you stand in their life. Emotionally available people don't vanish when life gets busy, they adjust. They send a message. They explain, reassure, and reconnect when they can. If someone's life has space for friends, entertainment, and distractions, but not emotional presence with you, believe what their behavior is showing. Clarity doesn't always come as rejection. Sometimes it comes as consistent excuses. And once you see it clearly, you stop waiting and start choosing yourself. Line 5. I don't want to ruin what we have. This sentence often sounds gentle and caring. It feels like someone is trying to protect the bond you share. On the surface, it suggests appreciation for the connection, but psychology invites us to look deeper at what this line usually protects. Comfort, not true connection. When someone says they don't want to ruin what you have, it often means the current situation works well for them. They enjoy the attention, emotional support, or companionship, but they hesitate when responsibility or commitment comes into the picture. The bond feels safe as long as nothing changes. Psychologically, this line keeps you in a state of pause. You begin to hesitate before expressing your needs. You avoid asking for clarity because you don't want to disturb the fragile balance. Over time, you may silence your own expectations, just to keep the connection alive. The unspoken message behind this sentence is often simple. I like the benefits, but not the responsibility. This doesn't always come from manipulation. Sometimes people fear change. Sometimes they fear losing comfort. But regardless of intention, the emotional effect can be limiting. One person stays emotionally invested, while the other remains protected from obligation. This dynamic can quietly trap you. You feel stuck, afraid to ask for more, and afraid to walk away. You may tell yourself that patience will preserve the bond, but in reality, nothing moves forward. Healthy relationships are not ruined by honesty. They grow through. Connection strengthens when both people are willing to face change, not avoid it. If expressing your needs feels like a risk, the foundation is already fragile. Comfort without growth is not security, it's stagnation. True connection welcomes clarity, even when it's uncomfortable. These lines don't appear randomly. They usually surface when boundaries are missing and emotional roles are unclear. Line 7. Let's just go with the flow. On the surface, this sounds relaxed and easygoing. It suggests freedom and lack of pressure. But psychologically, going with the flow often means avoiding direction. When there is no clear path, the person who benefits most is the one who already feels comfortable. Without shared intention, time passes, attachment grows, and nothing truly changes. Line 8. You're overthinking. This phrase can quietly shut down emotional expression. Instead of addressing your concerns, it minimizes them. Over time, you may start questioning your own instincts. You hesitate to speak up, fearing you'll be labeled sensitive or dramatic. Psychologically, this weakens emotional awareness and shifts responsibility away from the other person. Line 9. I never asked you to do all this. This line is often spoken after effort has already been accepted. It reframes the past and removes accountability. You're left feeling foolish for giving, even though your actions were welcomed. This creates confusion and emotional withdrawal, while protecting the other person from responsibility. Individually, these lines may seem harmless. Together, they form a pattern that keeps one person emotionally invested, while the other remains free from obligation. These phrases are not always used with harmful intent. Sometimes they reflect avoidance, discomfort, or emotional immaturity. But the impact remains the same when boundaries are unclear. Healthy relationships don't rely on confusion. They welcome clarity, communication, and mutual responsibility. When boundaries are strong, these lines lose their power. When boundaries are missing, they quietly shape the dynamic. Awareness isn't about blame, it's about protecting your emotional balance. Awareness is not hatred. Recognizing patterns does not mean you are angry or bitter. It simply means you are paying attention. Understanding psychology is about clarity, not blame. It's about learning how emotions work, how words influence behavior, and how certain dynamics quietly repeat themselves in relationships. When you understand this, you stop personalizing confusion and start reading situations more clearly. Strong men don't chase uncertainty. They don't compete for clarity or beg for emotional direction. They understand that real connection feels stable, not confusing. It feels balanced, not draining. And most importantly, it feels respectful to both people involved. If someone's words sound sweet but their actions feel empty, that disconnect is information. Promises are easy to speak. Patterns are harder to fake. Instead of holding on to what was said, pay attention to what is consistently done. Clarity is not coldness. Boundaries are not weakness. And walking away from emotional imbalance is not failure, it's self-respect. Protect your time. It is limited. Protect your emotional energy. It shapes your confidence, your focus, and your peace of mind. Real love doesn't keep you guessing where you stand. It doesn't require you to decode mixed signals or silence your needs to keep someone comfortable. Real love grows through honesty, effort, and mutual intention. If this video helped you think more clearly and see patterns more objectively, stay connected. Subscribe for more psychology-based relationship awareness. Content designed to help you build stronger boundaries, healthier connections, and a clearer sense of self. Clarity changes everything.